Welcome to the Randomly Leveled podcast, a brand new podcast which I had a bit of trouble trying to figure out a name. I was going to go with randomly generated, but did some work online and turns out it was already taken. So, this is the first episode, and I haven't actually got a schedule in mind, so don't be expecting weekly episodes or anything, but you never know, it's just whatever comes around, I suppose. Anyway, do I have a format for this podcast? Not really. Not at the moment, anyway. I'm just going to try to wing it and see how it goes for this first episode. Anyway, I have a guest for the first episode, and it is Big C. Say hello.
What's going on, guys? This is Big C. How's everyone doing?
Is there anything that you want to plug or anything?
Not much here.
No.
No.
Okay. Well, I've given you your opportunity. So, this is a gaming podcast. Hopefully not going to be like the other podcast that only addressed like new games. That's just not my style. Hopefully that it will... get my words mixed up. Hopefully I will do something of interest, but I have to ask, how are you finding Azure Dreams?
Doing fine, actually. I'm actually enjoying it so far. It's pretty much one of the most difficult JRPGs so far. I like the whole idea of donating money to the church or donating to the medical clinic. I thought that was really cool, actually. It's the leveling up system. When we escape from the dungeon, you start out from level 1 again. So it reminds me of another game that did the same thing, like ZHB Closing Ranger on the PSP, if anyone knows about that game.
Yeah, and I've that was a game I was actually interested in at the time, but never actually got round to playing. Partly because it was like, oh, that reminds me of Azure Dreams. For the people listening, if you don't, well, of course you probably won't know what's going on here. Azure Dreams is my favourite game of all time, and Big C here has just started it. So of course I'm very interested in what you're trying to say. And what you think about it, because I love the game. So you're saying it was hard. What obstacles?
It was the whole level grinding thing. When you escape from the dungeon, you start out from level 1, you go back into the dungeon. It's really something different for a change, doing that kind of mix. You just, like a lot of other games, you start out, when you actually level grind, you don't start from level 1 again. It's something a little bit different, I guess.
Yeah, it's well, it was one of the first RPGs that I played, so leveling was still a whole like brand new thing to me. But have you been using wind crystals?
Oh yeah, I've been using wind crystals, and Jesus, those things are very rare in dungeons. I remember constantly restarting the game just to find a wind crystal. Oh my god, where's the wind crystal? I need to escape from this dungeon.
Oh, let me reassure you. There are items that are so much rarer than wind crystals.
I know. I remember one time I encountered a diamond crystal, but I ended up dead. I lost all those items that I got from the dungeon.
Was that the diamond shield?
Diamond shield. I was like, I was pretty lucky to find one, but fuck, I lost it.
Yeah, they're the best shield in the game. They start off really powerful, and they are unaffected by rust traps. So basically, you can level them up. You know the sands? Would you use the sands to level up?
Oh yeah, sands upgraders. There's one trap I really hate the most when it rusts your item, rusts your armor.
Yeah.
And your weapon.
See, that's one of the reasons why diamond shields are the best shields, because they don't rust. It's one of their abilities. It's also the same for, I believe Mirror Shield is the same, but Mirror Shield... It's hard to say with Mirror Shield because they start off weaker, but they also reflect magic attacks.
It's a very weak kind of stats pick. I saw some of the stats on some certain items, so I kind of noticed that.
Yeah. And there's also, on the weapon side, there's the gold sword, which I consider to be the best sword in the game. It starts off as the weakest, because it only has one attack, but it doesn't rust. And you need that, because you never know when you're going to run into rust trap. So when I remember like looking back and when I was playing that game like the first time, I can remember doing particular things and thinking to myself, that was a really, really bad thing that I did there. Like I could just look back and think like, oh, I was so bad at this game. And just the things that you can learn and things that you can find out over time. Um, did you know, for example, she probably didn't because the game doesn't explain this to you, but after a few years someone told me about it and I was completely blown away by it. You can increase your familiar's max MP by giving them pitta fruit when their MP is at max.
Oh, I noticed that actually, and I like.
Okay. So
I thought that was actually healing your items, but actually, oh, it's actually maximized. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Did not know that. I thought it was just a healing item.
well, it is. It's just usually because it's there to heal MP. But if your MP is at max, it increases the max MP by 1, and MP doesn't go up when you level up. So you need that MP, and you need the MP because if your familiar runs out of MP, they're as good as dead. They don't do anything.
I think another thing I was really surprised in this game, you can actually upgrade your house and upgrade your hut, you know, where you actually put your monsters. I thought that was really cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. You need to upgrading your house actually increases your storage space in the safe. So, and which is you're going to be needing because it's all about like getting items and saving items and stuff.
I know that, yeah.
Do you use? Oh, sorry. Go on.
But yeah, there's some things you can actually buy furniture accessories. Now, this is actually kind of cool. This is the first time I ever seen an RPG where you could actually upgrade, one of the first actually RPGs that actually did the whole upgrade your house. Like, I know in like RTS games that did that, but not with a JRPG. I don't know. So, I don't know, maybe some other games that did that before that, a JRPG, a Japanese role-playing game. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know any. But what I usually do with the house is I usually I usually don't really buy many decorations, but I do buy wallpaper. So I just think it looks wrong just having like a big house and then you've got like the stone walls, even in the small house. But when you've got the small house, I think it's still a bit too early.
Oh yeah, there's actually side quests in this game too. You can actually help people in the village. That's another thing that's like you help out people around the village to go and climb up the tower. So that was really interesting. I haven't gotten that far up higher level that you do these quests. But there's one quest you have to go up to the 15th floor.
Is that the to get the pot, the oil?
The oil, yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah. There's a few. There's a couple of those. Not too many. I think there's probably around 4 or 5. And they just unlock different parts, like different things in the towns. Have you got that pot?
Unlocked the thing in the towns. I haven't done any side quests, but I hope I can get higher and higher on the floor. I'm like grinding my main familiar. Maybe I should try to get some other familiars. I had another one, but it's pretty much a weak kind of monster I got. So
Yeah. The Palumpa?
it was some one I actually got early part of the first part of the game. We started the whole tutorial. So
Yeah, that's a Palumpa.
I kind of regret selling that balloon monster egg, which actually worth 1,000 currency, whatever it's called in the game, gold. Oh, it's copper
Yeah,
pieces. There we go.
yeah. It's just called G, the
Yeah.
currency. Yeah. Well, the balloon has an ability which is really nice, but it costs so much MP to use. It can It can make you skip a floor on the tower. But it can only go as high as what its level is. So say if it's like level 4, you can use its ability to like climb up without having to find the elevator, but only up until level 4 or level 5.
Huh, did not know that. I regret selling that monster egg. Fuck.
But it's not. The thing is, though, the thing is with Azure Dreams, though, is that the goal for the majority of the game is not to get to the top. The goal of the game is to get the stuff that will help you get to the top when you're able to. Because there's no way that you can, like, get to the top so early. It's just ridiculous. Although, there is a video that I did see where someone did actually get from the first floor up to the top all in one go. Crazy. Took a few hours and lots of grinding. The grinding that was at least possible anyway, because you can't stay on one floor too long, otherwise you get pushed up. So yeah, you say you've been really enjoying it then?
I'm enjoying it. I actually enjoy having a game that's actually difficult for a change. I finally finished Final Fantasy X. I haven't beat the game 100%.
Oh yes. Yes.
Well, I think it would be that impossible to beat 100% compared to 10-2. You really need a guidebook to search everything like in 10-2. We're going off topic here, but yeah.
Nah, it's fine. We've probably talked about Azure Dreams for quite a while anyway. So, yeah, I've platinumed Final Fantasy X.
You platinum, I noticed that on your PSN account. I've been looking at it. I actually got over 60% already in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people, I noticed a few people complained about the final boss in 10, how it's kind of a huge letdown. It's like a tick. I'm not spoiler anyone that actually didn't play the game, but it was kind of a little bit huge letdown.
Well, the thing is, it's one of those. It's basically you can't lose.
I know. Yeah.
But it's more of a story event, I'd say,
Yeah,
because there is a legitimate boss before that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Sir Jack was really a hard boss battle. I remember first time getting into that on the PS2 version later this year, and I was like, oh my god, Jack's so freaking hard. But the theme of that soundtrack for Jack seems awesome.
I actually see. Again, this is the same thing again. I've played Final Fantasy X back on the PS2, and I remember going up against bosses like Seymour Flux and like Jacked, and thinking, oh, this is so hard. But on my last playthrough, I went through, and it was like, how come I'm not struggling at all? I just did it easily, and I'm not showing off, even though it may sound like it. I'm not intending to show off. It's just a case of the fact that that's what happened. Is like I learnt more about the game as time goes on. But when I played, because I did Platinum 10, and I do plan to Platinum 10 too. It's just a case of, it's just really a case of when can I muster up the energy to make sure that I stick to a guide word for word? Because you really have to do that.
Like, I remember in 10, I actually had to struggle doing Titus's side quest. We had to get his ultimate weapon. I remember I had to take a lot of breaks to get that weapon.
Do you mean the Chocobo thing?
The Chocobo, yeah. Dodging the birds, getting the balloons. Oh, I was so freaking, like, stressed out. I had to take some breaks once in a while to try to beat that high score, getting a 0-0-0 score.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but... And I do put this down entirely to just probability and luck, but when I played through it, I did it in like, I'd say 10 attempts, which isn't very much at all, and then when I did it, I was like, I've done it? You know, like, surprised, because,
I was actually really proud. I was screaming, yes! Yes! I actually did it! Oh my god.
Well, I did it before, back when, like, on the PS2, and that was like just trying and trying and trying. And I remember I got to it on the PS2 and I was like, oh, here we go again. What's this going to take? 2 hours maybe of me trying this over and over again? It took like 15 minutes. I was just pleasantly surprised. Like, it's done.
15 minutes? Oh,
yeah.
You're really good at these games.
I think I was just lucky.
Lucky. Oh,
Yeah.
you got lady luck on your side.
Oh yeah. Well, at least I did with Final Fantasy X. I did take a break from 10 when because I was going for platinum and I went to go on to Lightning Returns. Have you played Lightning Returns?
I haven't really played Lightning Returns. I heard some people actually like the game. It's a like it or hate it game, I've heard. I did actually play a bit of Final Fantasy 13. I actually did actually like 13 too. All time traveling. I think it's kind of really annoying that people like to jump on the bandwagon just to let's hate on Final Fantasy 13. I don't like doing that much like I used to. There are some things
Oh yeah.
there are some things I do actually like about Final Fantasy 13. Like, I got to the little safari area in Final Fantasy 13 already. I did some of the side quests with the whole monster hunting.
Oh yeah.
And now I'm, like, stuck somewhere. Oh my god, how am I supposed to get out of this mess? I have to fight this enemy now. I should have level grinded more in the other area.
Well, see, the thing is with 13, or one of the things with 13 is that you're actually kind of punished for leveling up too fast, like early, because of the way that the Crystarium works. And this is something that I've not seen anyone address before. I mean, I've noticed it, but no one's mentioned this. So I'm just wondering if people tend to not notice. But on the Crystarium, you know how you got like the path that you go on to level up the walls. Then you've got like the off branches which go off into like all the directions and stuff. Those branches are actually a lot less cost effective. So like if you go to spend the CP in those, you're actually getting less. So it actually serves you well to say get to the top and then just leave it for a while until you unlock the next expansion and then continue from there.
I can understand the reasons why they kind of gave you a limit how much level grinding you can do in the game, because it'll make it too easy if you actually spend most time level grinding. I think that's something I kind of notice now, actually. Like there's actually a limit each chapter how much you can level grind.
Well, it is down to the fact that the optional branches on the Crystarium do actually uh, have both a positive and a negative towards them. The positive is that they're available early for you to get, but the negative is that they're more expensive. So if they didn't have the Crystarium expansions and stuff, there'd be no point to them. You just like continue on your merry way up the thing, and it wouldn't really matter. So it's all like connected. It's all like get one benefit over another. But I say Lightning Returns, and I ask about that because I played that during my break during 10, and I absolutely adore Lightning Returns. I think it's one of the best games ever. Not as good as Azure Dreams, but and not one of the best Final Fantasy games, but one of the best games. I just think it's so creative what they've done and it just all fits together so well. It really it really highlights to me how even games today, even though it may not seem it, can have a lot of creativity put into them and lots of like new things that you just don't see. And this works as a primary example of that. I mean, there's probably other examples out there as well that I just don't know about, but this has been the example for me.
I haven't really played the game, but I actually heard people compare it to Majora's Mask. Can you actually say that's a good comparison, though?
I've not played Majora's Mask, so I couldn't tell you exactly.
Oh, I never played Majora's Mask either. I heard it's based around traveling back in time from 3 days and stuff like that. It's all based around side quests. So I never played. I'm not really a big fan of Zelda, to be honest. I I do actually like Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, and stuff like that. But
Yeah. Um. Well, from what I know of Majora's Mask, it sounds kind of similar, but it doesn't sound too similar, if you know what I mean. It feels like there's some elements that do carry over between the whole like passage of time and resetting time and all that. The Zelda franchise as a whole, I've only completed Ocarina of Time. I've not completed any of the others, but I've played a few, and I do like Zelda. People get the impression that I don't like Zelda, but I do. It's just the fact that I genuinely think that they're overhyped, and as much as I don't like the word, I think they're overrated. I think equally though, some people give them a bit too much slack by calling them, saying that they're the same game over and over, and I'm thinking, no, they're not really. They change just as much as you'd expect an average franchise to change over time, I think.
Well, there was some person that said that, oh, it's the same game but in a different setting and stuff like that. Oh, no, it's not always true. The gameplay system is a little bit different, each one of them, in design. Like, the first Zelda game, they actually, you couldn't tell which hidden passages, but just hidden cracks, they actually, like, Link's Awakening, you have to hit the wall to figure out there's actual hidden area, and then there's, like, they constantly update each type of design and gameplay, each different game. It's not like pulling a Madden or anything, or people like to complain about Pokemon games, say, oh, it's the same game, but different roster, whatever, Pokemon. Wait, what's your thoughts about that? Like, how about people like to say, Pokemon pulls a Madden on everyone?
People say Pokemon's like Madden.
Yeah, they try to say, oh, it's the same game, but with different Pokemon. People like to say that, actually.
I do think that's like ridiculous because I mean you can I think it shows a level of ignorance of the style of game. I'm not entirely sure if it shows an ignorance of the genre, but I think it just shows like that there are differences, and if you can't see those differences, then I mean, granted, you may not think those differences are particularly big differences, but you should be able to see that there are differences. Like, the difference between the first generation of Pokemon and the second generation of Pokemon. Like, in the second generation, you had the whole thing, you had the Pokemon breeder, you had the day and night thing, you had the different days of the week, which did things differently. You had the fact that your Pokemon could hold items. And, you know, when you compare this to, let's say, Sonic the Hedgehog, if you compare Sonic 1 to Sonic 2, it's, again, it's the same basic idea, but there are differences. The special stages are different. The spin dash is new in Sonic 2. You know, the levels, different levels are different. So, yeah, I don't think you're really justified in saying that they're all the same. And I also think it does a disservice to games as a whole, really, if you just dismiss things as being exactly the same when they're not.
Yeah. It's just, yeah. I actually played a bit of Pokemon X and Y, and I actually enjoyed it. I know they completely changed the gameplay itself, but I actually was really surprised, actually, at the game itself. But each one has their own different kind of design and gameplay. I think, yeah, there's another thing they had in Pokemon Gold and Silver, the phone call system, you know, the cell phone system, that's another thing.
Oh, yeah, forgot about that.
And Pokemon Sapphire and Ruby, they had the whole weather system in that game. And
Oh, yeah. And the dens as well.
I had never played the 4th generation Pokemon, but in 5th generation they added they had every completely different Pokemon in that game. I'm trying to think what other stuff they had in Pokemon Black and White. They have I'm trying to think here, what newer stuff they had in. Oh yeah, they had another rival, I guess, too. Like one or two rivals in this game now. Not talking about the main rival, like the whole team rivals, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, like Blue and Silver and them lost. The rival who picks your weakness at the start. I've not actually played Pokemon since Generation 3.
I stopped around that. I took a break from it. I think Pokemon 4th generation, someone pointed out to me that the bug Pokemon actually have an actual bug type ability besides String Shot, which I thought that was kind of interesting. When I played Pokemon, the 5th generation Pokemon, they did that again. They gave new bug Pokemon new bug attacks, which that was really good. Because really, the advantage in bug Pokemon in earlier games is just it's just more like resistance and weakness, I guess you could say.
So was String Shot the only bug-type move originally?
In the 1st generation, I think. Yeah.
See, that's crazy to think because, like, I know I've played Pokemon, like, the 1st generation, and I played it quite a lot at the time. I know it's just strange things that, like, you just don't notice.
Mm-hmm.
Like that being the only bug move. I had no idea. It does seem a bit strange. I think it feels a bit strange, like, when I think of RPGs, and I think of different elements, right? You think of, like, fire, ice, water, and all that lot, right? Earth and, like, electric and all that. But it's strange, like, going to Pokemon, and yet they've got water, they've got fire, and they've got ice. And then you think, okay, they've got bug. It just feels strange that bug is its own, like, type, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're based on animals. I know it was originally the series was originally designed around because whoever can't remember his name. He was a fan of catching bugs, wasn't he? The guy who originally came up with the idea of Pokemon.
Oh, yeah. That guy, the creator of Pokemon, was it?
Yeah. I don't remember his name.
I don't remember his name. The only thing I know about the guy that he has Asperger's and stuff like that. That's about it.
Right. Well, that's yeah. Now I know 3 things about him. Um. Well, yeah. It just seems strange to think that, like, flying is a type. Like, you think of RPGs and you think of the different elements. Flying isn't one you'd think of. You'd think of, like, wind or something.
Wind, yeah.
And there's also the distinction between ground and rock. I don't know where that came from. I mean, I know that ground is meant to be like they come from the ground, or they are stuck to the ground, and ground-based moves don't affect um, the flying type Pokemon, which makes sense. But it just seems strange to think, like, ground and rock are something different. There's usually just be Earth.
Earth, yeah, that's the thing. I guess they want to add more variety of elements. I think in next layer generation Pokemon they added like Dark type, and next 6th generation, 6th or 7th generation Pokemon X and Y they added a Fairy type, which dragons are weak against Fairy type, which that was a really good idea to have because really dragons were really overpowered. Didn't have much of a weakness, but a lot of people did not like the whole idea of giving dragon type of weakness, I guess. So that was
I suppose the idea is that dragon types are usually harder to get, so it would make more sense if they were stronger. But at the same time, I suppose, like, competitive Pokemon become more of a thing. So, you know, with the people, like, on the high end, the difficulty in getting something isn't a question. It's just what there is, and you choosing out of what there is.
I think now actually later Pokemon games now dragon type Pokemon are kind of common now. I remember back in early Pokemon games that the only dragon type Pokemon I could think of in 1st generation was Dratini, Dragonite,
In
yeah,
Dragonite,
Dragonair, yeah.
yeah,
And there were
yeah,
and there was actually some dragon type abilities of Gyarados giving him Hyper Beam.
Yeah, I remember thinking Gyarados should have been a dragon type.
Yeah, it had some builds like Dragon Dance, Hyper Beam. Kind of made more sense.
Yeah, Dragon Rage. Is that right, Dragon Rage?
Dragon Rage. I think was it a water type or I think a later game was actually a dragon type. I think
Right.
I might have to look it up sooner or later, but it's been a while
I'm
since I
not
played
sure.
first generation. I did actually finish the first generation on Pokemon Blue. My brother played Pokemon Red, my sister played Pokemon Yellow, then we played later games like Pokemon. I played Pokemon Silver, beating that. Brother played Pokemon Gold, my sis played Pokemon Crystal around the time. That's just how it worked in our family.
Yeah, I had red and my brother had blue, and then I had gold and my brother had silver. So that's how it worked with us. But I did get crystal eventually, which is probably my favourite Pokemon game that I've played. Although I've got to say, I did really, you know, all the Pokemon games that I have played, I really enjoyed them at the time that I got them. It's strange because when I think of Pokemon, I mean Pokemon Red was the game that introduced me to RPGs. But really, after that, and even though I still played Pokemon for a while, and I really got into the second generation, which is currently my favourite, I would say, and I did get into the third one, I kind of got to that point where I'm thinking like, oh, Pokemon is not, it's become a bit too simple. But it's not that the games have become any more simple. I don't know, I just got into other games.
Yeah. Like, I try to give out newer games a chance
Oh
sometimes.
yeah,
Well, going back previous time, the very first game RPG I played was Shining Force 2 on the Sega Genesis. My brother owned the Sega Genesis now, and I got into that game around the time. I was really
yeah.
surprised by that game when I was really young. Like having it was actually the first game I ever saw that has that kind of subgenre in RPGs, the old tactical RPG or RPG strategy, whatever you call it.
I have played Shining Force 2, but I didn't play it until the Ultimate Mega Drive collection came out on PS3,
Uh,
and I started playing it there. Um, I got to one point where I was stuck. Don't remember exactly what it was, but yes, I certainly did like the game. And the game originally, when the game originally came out, that was long before I even had a concept of an RPG. But it's certainly an interesting game. My brother always said that he thinks it's slow. I don't think it is. I think it's paced pretty well, like the battles, that is.
I heard a lot of people complain about Shining Force 2 being too easy because of the leveling. Oh, I beat this game on the highest difficulty. Maybe because he spent time level grinding that's made it so easy. I don't know. Like, there's something I think I actually enjoyed the game. It was pretty much was my number one favorite RPG of all time. I was down to four now. But my most favorite game of JRPG I have to say is Dragon Quest VIII.
Oh, that's my number two favorite game of all time. I love it.
I really love the symphonic music. I heard the Japanese soundtrack is completely different to the North American European soundtrack, which I was surprised about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I really love the British dubbing, the cel-shaded look of the game. Oh, it was really interesting having this overworld map with cel-shaded look. It looked very impressive for a PS2 title.
Absolutely. I love that game. It's amazing. And when I first played that game, um, it was like rediscovering games again. I don't know how to describe it. It was just like I couldn't sleep because I wanted to play it, and I would have been like 18 or 19, and I was just really really into it. It's crazy.
I like replaying the game over and over. This is like one of the very few games I like playing. It has really, I just like to replay the game after beating it.
It took me ages to complete it. I don't think I was very good at it at first. One reason being that I didn't really make use of the magic pot. So I really didn't get all that I could have out of it. But usually now, if I don't know what to use for the magic pot, I'll just stick 2 herbs in.
But yeah, there's ways you can find recipes from the bookshelves or talking to certain
Oh yeah,
people. But
yeah,
I remember doing it multiple playthroughs twice already, a few times. And then I actually found I just like to use the Nose for Treasure ability with Genghis. That was the pretty most useful ability in the whole game. That helps you
yeah.
how many treasures are left in the area. That was a really useful ability. I think the early Dragon Quest games did that too, I think. I know they had the whistle ability. I think
The only other Dragon Quest game I've really played is the first one. Have you played the first one?
I played the first one. It's one of those very traditional kind of JRPG that probably was the very first JRPG, I think, if I'm wrong about that.
I think you are right. It's it's a very, very strange case because in some senses I think this is awful, in some senses I think this is amazing, but it's really hard to describe because it feels like you know like the way that games are marketed today and they're like, oh, it feels like a living, breathing world or whatever. I think that game actually does because it's like, and it's kind of similar to Final Fantasy II in this regard, in that you can, in theory, pretty much go anywhere you want, but you'll be slaughtered if you do.
Yeah.
You have to, yeah.
I remember that in Final Fantasy 2. I remember I went so far I ended up getting my ass handed towards a giant turtle or something like that. I remember actually
Oh yeah.
I remember it was some like oh, dogs are barking in the background. Anyways, my second favorite Dragon Quest game is Dragon Quest V. I know you haven't played this. It was on the DS. It was originally on the Super Famicom. It had that whole marriage system. Sorry, my dogs are barking in the background. I think my mother's home at the moment.
All right.
I'll close the door.
All right. Okay. Hey, dogs bark in the background on a podcast.
But anyways, but it had this kind of thing called a marriage system. I know this is not the very first. I don't know which came first, Phantasy Star 3 or Dragon Quest V, but it had this kind of thing where you start out a kid as your childhood, and then you start out being an adult. You could choose like three different kind of wives you could actually get married to, which I thought was a really interesting system for a game that came out around that time. I know Phantasy Star 3 did that too. Like, I think Phantasy Star 3 had like multiple endings with each generation.
I have played 5 a little bit, and I do know that like you start as a kid, and I know that it's like you do like grow older in the game. But that's pretty much all I really know about it. There was a rumor going back to Azure Dreams. You know Gosh? I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. That's how I pronounce it.
Well,
You know Gosh?
Gosh, I'm trying to think. He's pretty much, I think he's not the rival, is he? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he is, okay. I just...
Yeah. There was a rumor that in the Japanese version of the game, you could marry him or something.
Oh, God.
But it wasn't actually true.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know why anyone would even want to,
Want to marry that douchebag. I'm
or
sorry.
even want to look at him.
Like, I don't have a problem with the whole gay marriage thing, but I don't think he's really a type of likable character to easily marry. No. He's kind of a douche.
Oh yeah, to everyone really. So, I think let's jump to a different genre, because obviously I'm a big fan. Fan. I don't know why I said fan. I'm a big fan of RPGs, and you are as well. Are there any other genres that you're particularly interested in? Like
for me, I'm into sandbox games. I'm into a lot of I'm into action adventure titles. Other stuff I'm into. I play a little handful of FPS. I'm actually enjoying. I'm not a big fan of visual novels. Like I'm getting into this series called Danganronpa series on the Vita. It originally is on the PSP, and oh god, these were really surprising games. They're kind of like Ace Attorney, but a little more weirder. There's a lot of pop culture references. Like, if you haven't been following me on Tumblr, I've been posting a lot of stuff about that game a lot. I love the humor in that game.
all I know about that game is that there is a teddy that has a half evil face.
Always has a half hope, half despair. That's pretty much what he is. Monokuma or Mono Bear.
Ah, right. You're saying about you're saying you play few FPSs. I haven't played many FPSs. I'm not really into them. But, and I suppose this is staying on to the topic of RPGs, I've been playing Borderlands 2 recently.
Yeah.
Which have you played
I played
any
the
of the
first Borderlands game. I was not really a big fan of it, but I might have to replay it again. I'm gonna maybe get downloaded on Steam sooner or later. Get some money. I'm some actually games that had some first-person shooter elements that actually does that. Like I enjoy Fallout New Vegas. Pretty much my favorite game of all time. I know people like to say the game's buggy and all. I love the whole reputation system, mixing a little karma in that game, having the whole companion system. It's like this huge open world. I know a lot of people complain about being boring. Like, oh, I didn't like the story because it's not as good as compared to Fallout 3 because it doesn't really give much backstory to the main character. Why should it matter? But I know it's one of those silent protagonist kind of characters. I'm not saying you can give a silent protagonist a backstory, but I don't think you should really give that much depth to those characters. That's how I think.
I'll tell you what I did like about I'll tell you what I preferred about New Vegas. I mean, I've not played too much of either, but one thing I preferred about New Vegas over Fallout 3 is that when you make the character and you give them their stats, you're pretty much in the game. Like, you choose them, there you are. You don't have this whole build-up before then of like all this story of going through your younger years.
I did not like that either. I just like it straight to the point, like the first Fallout game. Second Fallout game, you had the whole trial kind of system, and you become a Vault Dweller, and there you go. Fallout 1, you're this Vault Dweller, you just go on your journey to save your own vault. Get the water ship, there you go. Fallout New Vegas, you're a courier, find out the whereabouts, who stole the actual platinum ship, and there you go. Fallout 3, you just drag on the whole, you've been raised as a child. It's like, really, do we really need to go make this slow-paced kind of story? I don't know. And that's the reason why I didn't like Kingdom Hearts 2 that much, because how the pacing of the tutorial being way too long.
Kingdom Hearts 2, I got that game for my 18th birthday, and it's a very strange thing because I did enjoy Kingdom Hearts 1, and then when I played Kingdom Hearts 2, I did complete it, but I wasn't really enjoying myself the whole time. I don't know what it was. It just didn't feel like I was really getting anything out of it.
I don't know. I just feel like I was really so confused with the plot, the story. I just felt like it just felt way too long. And I played a lot of RPGs that felt longer than that, or way longer, but this just felt way too long. With Dragon Quest VIII, yeah, it's a longer game compared to Kingdom Hearts 2, but I just felt this game was way too long. Kingdom Hearts 2, I'm not going to complain about the game being linear or anything. Like, I enjoy Grania 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when I played through the PS3 version of Kingdom Hearts, and I was going for the platinum because that's just what I like to do, and I did get it eventually. But it took like 116 hours or so to get the platinum, but it felt like a lot longer because say like Final Fantasy X took around 160 hours for platinum, and Lightning Returns took about 120 for platinum. But Kingdom Hearts just felt like so much longer because there was a part where you had to farm enemies for components for the synthesis shop.
Oh yeah, that. There's one part I had to do those combos towards that freezing the mushroom. That was a pain.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And there'd be that room at the end of the world where there's like 20 of them, and you're like, right, I've got to get it. I've got to cast stop at the right time on two of these, and then it's like one of them uses ice, so then you use ice, and then you hit like four of them, and then the other three like all disappear because you used the wrong thing.
I think the most painful one I hate the most is the rare mushroom with the blue one. I hated that one. You have to hit the guy up in the air so many times, and some people did a little trick by doing an aeroga on the enemy.
Yeah, I was never able to do that. But the thing is, I was always like filled. Whenever I saw one of those, I was always like filled with joy because it was like, because it's such an experience-heavy thing. If you can keep it in the air for like 100 times, that's like it's like 5,000 experience or something, roughly. And there's one in the Colosseum as well during one of the cups. If you can just if you can keep it in the air for all 100 times, all 100 hits, that is like the full 5,000, and that's amazing. That's the equivalent of killing like Rock Titan or something.
Mm-hmm.
So there was always that sense of happiness, like, oh yes, one of those. But there's always that sense of frustration, like I've got to focus and make sure that I can do this right, because the further that you went, like if you missed one, all of the big chunk of the experience was at the end. So it was like, say you got up to like 70, like 70 experience for the hit, and then you went up to like do the 71st hit and missed. Well, that's like 71, then 72, then 73, all the way up to 100. That much experience that you've missed. So you'd have to like be focused, like I've got to hit this. And it was like a timing between like circle X, circle X, circle X. And when doing that in the Colosseum, even though you're moving all over the place, you know, because you're pushing them forward slightly and you're jumping forward slightly as well when you do it, sometimes you hit the walls, and it doesn't make any difference to your ability to hit them, but it kind of feels like it does, and you just have to ignore it. So you have to focus entirely on circle X, and timing it all right, and just ignore what you see on the screen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what I mean, yeah. Jump and hit, jump and hit, jump and hit, yeah.
So those things were very mixed for me. It was the purple mushrooms on the speed trials that annoyed me more than anything.
I actually was really proud I beat the Hades Cup solo and beat the Hades Cup again on time limit. I remember surprising one person on Skype, oh, I actually beat the Hades Cup on the time limit. The only thing I really had a hard time with the most was certain boss battles in each part of the Hades Cup Coliseum, like fighting Yuffie and Yuffie or Squall and Cloud, and then we get to that big behemoth. That was a pain to fight through that enemy.
Oh yeah,
I think.
but
Go on.
I was just going to say it's one of those things where you think it's going to be like a mammoth of a task, but if you get the levels and you're ready for it and you do it, it's one of those things that, to me at least, makes games great. Knowing that there's like a big thing, seeing if you can do it, and eventually doing it.
I think I hate to say it, but I actually rather fight the Sephiroth battle than the Ice Titan. You know, where with Ice Titan you have to spend time blocking his ice attacks just to hit him. That was a real pain. I remember doing.
I spent ages not having a clue how you meant to hurt the Ice Titan.
Yeah, well, I actually saw a YouTube video. I didn't. Oh, there's actually more of these cups on Coliseum. That's how I found on YouTube. So that's where you find there's actually more of them. And I found the whole Sephiroth thing. I think the final mix there's actually some huge differences compared to the original version. I think I do actually how they updated the controls on the PS3 version because I did not like the controls in the PS2 version as much.
Do you mean with the camera?
Camera controls, yeah.
Yeah, and there's also they use the triangle button to like open chests and stuff, which makes sense. It's better than scrolling through a menu to open a chest.
Yeah, that's the thing I really hated that, and that was annoying. I know there's some earlier games that did that, but that was a little bit outdated when you do that kind of style.
Well, the original Dragon Quest did that, and it was more so at the time. It wasn't so much that it was something to do at the time. I think it was more so just to do with the fact that because it hadn't been done before, they never thought to just make it so that there's a single button which does the action that's relevant to you now. Like you wouldn't think like you would think now talking to somebody and opening a chest and walking downstairs because they're not going to all happen at the same time anyway. You're not going to need a menu to like go through and do each individual one.
Well, I think I give props more to Dragon Quest. They try to make controls way more simplistic to a lot of older PC Western games back in the day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like typing in north, south, east, west. That would have been a pain. I used to play old DOS games a little bit when I was young, and I really seen some people went through huge pains playing games like Ultima and Wizardry doing that.
Yeah, like having to like type out names of spells in order to be able to cast them, as opposed to just having a menu available so you can go that one and then for it to be done.
Well, thanks to these games like Ultima and Wizardry, Dragon Quest was inspired by that game, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, pretty much Ultima and Wizardry was so popular in Japan that pretty much Enix was it? Like actually took the idea and made it simplistic.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that made actually JRPGs mostly really good and for making games really simplistic, easy to get into.
I think what Japanese RPGs do, although this clearly isn't always the case, I think they're really good at making things that are complex, but presenting it in such a way that it doesn't take too much to learn. You're not like presented with everything at once. I mean, I've known games where it's like you open up the menu and it's like, oh, you got your class, you got this stat, you got like with Fallout does this. It's like we've got different categories of stats. Now, if you take something like typical example, Final Fantasy VII, the stats are there, and you can go into the menu to see the stats, but there's nothing really pushing them. You know what I mean? There's nothing saying like there's nothing in the game that's really like making you think about your stats all the time. It's not like you level up and then you have to choose a stat to go on.
I always liked JRPGs because I like the whole default character concept of the whole. I wasn't a big fan of creating your own character all the time.
Oh, I don't like it at all. I don't like that. I think, if the way I like it to be is that there's a character and it's just it can be as bland as anything. I don't care. I just find the whole thing of making a character like, adjusting their eyebrow height and giving them a name and everything. I just find it boring. I don't like it at all. I think if my interactivity is given the character abilities, then that's fine. Things like that. So I think we should end this here.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome.
And thank you everyone for listening. And I'll see you all next time.